my toys.
Hey, this is D Hunter bringing another action figure review. Today we're looking at the Mattel Multiverse Batman Beyond action figure. This is from the most recent wave. I got mine from Amazon.com. Do not pay the extra $55 or $45 that third-party scalpers are asking for there. What I did was I bookmarked this page on my phone and just kept checking it every time I'd think of it, pull my phone out, check for a text message or email. I would just pop up Amazon.com. Eventually I did get him. I even got two of these figures, although it wouldn't let me get them at once. I had to wait about 10 days later to get the second one. Like I said before, this is for the most recent wave of Lobo figures. This is the only Batman figure in this wave. The next wave is going to be Collect and Connect Ninja Batman. I'm looking forward to that. So let's check out the packaging. You see here, it's the newer Multiverse packaging. We've got DC Multiverse down here. We've got Batman Beyond. We've got Collect and Connect Lobo at the top. Of course, you can see in here, we've got two alternate hands, total of 4 hands, total of 2 heads. We've got flight hands as well as fighting hands, angry head, regular head, 4 different batarangs, which is quite impressive, quite a bit of those. Detachable wings in the back, and a couple different Collect and Connect pieces. I see 2 different Lobo heads, and it looks like a Lobo sort of crotch area. As you can see here, we've got some artwork on the front. It looks like comic artwork. I would imagine this is the Batman Beyond from the Rebirth comics versus from the cartoon. On this side, we've got the same artwork. This side, also the same artwork. The bottom, barcode, a bunch of junk. And the back side, we've got a checklist with the rest of the wave. Kid Flash, Batman Beyond, Red Sun, Superman, and Kyle Rayner, Green Lantern. Now, me personally, with my action figure collecting habits, I really only get Batman-related figures, and any civilians or anything that I think is cool or would fit my world. I'm going to opt out of getting all the rest of the wave. I have no interest in connecting Lobo. Lobo's a cool character, and it's a really good-looking figure, but I do not need him in my action figure collection. The next wave, Collect and Connect Ninja Batman, I'm going to have to get the entire wave twice. One to open and collect the Ninja Batman, and one to keep each piece of Ninja Batman unopened, as I have a complete unopened Multiverse Batman and related collection. So as looking at this figure, something that pops into my head, we've gotten a couple other Batman Beyond figures from Mattel. We had the Total Heroes Batman several years ago, and many years before that, DC Universe Classics, we had a Batman Beyond Batman, and I remember the unmasked version was a KB Toys exclusive. If that could make you think of how long ago they released their DC Universe Classics, Batman Beyond, well over 10 years ago. KB Toys has been shut down for a long time. Another thing I'm thinking about when looking at this, these are the last days for Mattel Multiverse figures. They only have the line for another 8 months or so. And I know we're going to get a few more waves probably. They're going to cram out some stuff before the end. But it makes me kind of sad because these are the action figures that got me into action figure collecting. I was so impressed with the articulation, height, and detail when I first started opening these figures. And it's going to be sad when they're gone. I really hope McFarlane Toys allows you to build upon the Multiverse and DC Universe Classics collection and does not make you restart with a larger scale. But I guess time will tell on that. So, with no further ado, let's open this guy up and just see how awesome he is. And then, of course, I did get 2 of this figure, one to keep open and one to keep unopened. You can see it here on my bookshelf in front of my comic collection with the other Multiverse figures in the new packaging. And there's plenty of room for more. Not that we're going to get that many more. Alright, well, now that we got this figure out of the package, here he is with all of his accessories laid out. And he does come with quite a bit. He's got a total of 4 hands, 4 batarangs, 2 heads, his flight wings, then he's got his Lobo connect and collect pieces, he's got the crotch as well as 2 different heads. But before we dig in deep to the accessories, let's take a look at the actual figure. Really liking the way he looks. Quite a bit different than the previous Multiverse version. You see his head, his ears sticking outward, his nice red symbol in the middle. He's got his gauntlet fins, his belt there. See his ab crunch and his muscles. Overall, definitely liking the look of this figure. Next, let's look at his accessories, and I'll start with the accessories that I find the most boring from my point of view. First of all, here are the Lobo parts. We've got two different heads. One's got the glasses on the top, one has no glasses on whatsoever. This one seems to have kind of a mess with this paint on his face. Look at that. I'm actually not going to pursue collecting connecting Lobo. He is a cool character, but I don't need him. I pretty much collect Batman and related characters, and I have to buy a whole bunch of figures that I don't need just to get this guy. God, look at his beard too. A lot of paint issues on these guys. Also comes with Lobo's crotch. Pretty cool belt. But those are going to go into my collecting type bin. I'll probably trade them, give them, or sell them to somebody. Next, let's look at his hands. He comes with an open hand to hold something, presumably the Batarang, as well as a fisted hand to fight with. He, of course, comes with two flight hands, and we'll take a little bit more of a look at those shortly. You can see them kind of Superman-esque, as if he's flying completely flat. Okay, I went ahead and swapped out his hands. You can see he's got the flight hands that are completely flat and open now. I must say that when I went ahead and swapped them, they came out with pretty much complete ease. They felt very sturdy. Didn't feel like there's any risk of them breaking. Seems like you're going to be able to swap the hands in and out with absolutely no problems. So with these hands here, of course, Batman Beyond can karate chop people, but that's not the main reason it comes with hands. They're intended to be in sort of flight poses. In the show, he had his wings set and sort of rocket boosters that came out of his feet. There he can fly around, kind of like so, kind of Superman-esque. Pretty cool. It's a nice little feature to have since he comes with his wings. These are not going to be the default hands I'm going to use. They look kind of ridiculous if you're not in the flight pose. I'm going to mostly use the other hands, but it's nice to have the options. I think this guy would look pretty cool into a flight stand in midair. Next, let's swap them out back for the other hands that will predominantly be my default hands, being his left one, which is a fist, and his right one, which is an open hand that can hold an item. These flat hands are pretty much only good for when he's flying, and he's going to be not flying for the majority of the time. And these other hands will also work if he is flying. So, like I said before, they're very sturdy, strong, able to come out very easily. Notice I did that with no concern whatsoever. And they just sort of snap right into place. Really wish some of their older figures would have been done this way. Next, let's check out his heads. He does come with two different heads. Here's the one he came with in the package, sort of standard, default, not frowning, not smiling, just sort of there. And then here he is with his alternate head swapped onto there, his angry head. You can see it'd be great for sort of fighting or when he's, I don't know, confronting somebody. Here are the two heads next to each other, just so you can see the difference. I went ahead and swapped out and put his standard head back on, the one that I'll be using pretty much all the time for this figure. And I must say, just like the hands, the head came off with complete ease, sort of twisted around, pulled on it, snapped out, put the other one on. Very easy, very sturdy. I feel very comfortable swapping these out continuously. So next, let's look at his Batarangs. You can see here the regular Batman Beyond color, red and black. He does come with a total of 4 of them. They're kind of a soft rubber, a little bit bendy material. These are actually the exact same Batarangs that came with the Total Heroes Matty Collector exclusive Batman Beyond. So a lot of reuse, and for that matter, the wings are complete reuse as well. Here's my entire collection of Batman Beyond style Batarangs. As you can see, these 4 here are from the Multiverse, and these 4 down below are from the Total Heroes line. Like I said before, completely identical. A little bit of reuse there from Mattel. No surprise there. I can actually tell you what each and every one of these are from. These 2 larger ones are from the old Kenner line, a little bit oversized. Then of course the Multiverse here, Total Heroes here, all from Mattel. And then this single one here is from DC Collectibles, from the animated line, Batman Beyond figure. And then these 3 below that are from the Mezco figure that came out in recent history. And these 2 silver ones, although not screen accurate, are from the old DC Universe Classics line. And then here he is holding the Batarang as if he's getting ready to throw it at somebody. It is the only hand that actually holds a weapon that he came with out of the 4 hands. Kind of interesting to have 4 Batarangs and only able to hold one of them, but it does look pretty good. Next, let's check out his wing set. This is a pretty basic item, 1 piece of solid plastic, not very detailed, pretty bland. It has a little peg here that goes into a peg hole on his back. Pretty easy to fit it in there. This is what he looks like with his wings on. Like I said, pretty basic, and this is 100% reused from the Total Heroes wing set. Here are all the different Batman Beyond wing sets that I've accumulated for his 6 and 7-inch collection. Like I said before, the Multiverse one here is truly identical to the Total Heroes one here. Not even a lick of difference, not the shade, not one little thing. And then next we've got this one here, came from the Mezco version, probably the best detailed one of all of them. Notice the sort of electronic components and whatnot, quite a bit different than this one. And then we've got this one here. This came with the DC Collectibles figure. It is the only one of these to have any articulation. It actually has quite a bit. Not only can it do this type of stuff, but it also can bend here and turn that way, and it can actually do it the other way as well. Very nicely done. I would say this is definitely the worst of all the different kinds that they've made. And then here are pretty much all of the Batman Beyond accessories that I've accumulated from different various figures over the years. You can see we've already talked about the wing sets and all the Batarangs, but here's an unmasked Terry head that came with the Total Heroes Batman Beyond, as well as 3 different unmasked masks. So you can sort of hold his mask. It's sort of warped as if it's off his face. This one came with the Total Heroes, and then this one here came with the old DC Universe Classics Batman. And then while we're still on the subject of accessories, I bought this action figure 2-pack. I believe it to be a Walmart exclusive from the Justice League movie, the basic 6-inch line. It's Blue Parademon versus Batman. And it came with these really cool sort of exhaust piece coming out of his feet as if he's flying around. Actually, I believe this is actually attached to his jetpack here. But they're pretty cool accessories that can really enhance your Batman Beyond figure. This is the actual figure that came with this accessory I plan to use for Batman Beyond. Came with a helmet, and you can see here, this is how they attach to this figure, as if he's flying through the skies. And I actually ended up with a bunch of these sets. I wanted to get 6 of those Blue Parademons, so I have a ton of these sort of smoke or exhaust that comes out of their feet to use for numerous different action figures. So take 2 of these. Once again, they have the little peg that will fit into the peg hole on the bottom of his feet. Push them in there, and honestly, they fit wonderfully with this guy. It's almost like they were made for him. As you can see here, sort of landing, gliding, flying, etc., etc. And then, of course, here he is with his flight hands, his wing set attached, and the sort of thruster coming out from his feet. I think it looks really cool. Like I said before, if you had a flight stand, put them in there in midair just like this, look really awesome. So in addition to using these accessories for this Batman Beyond figure, here's a couple of other figures that I thought it worked pretty well with. We've got the Multiverse Batwing figure, as well as the movie Cyborg figure. Both are figures that can fly and whatnot. Worked out pretty well. They were a little bit more difficult to get in than the Batman Beyond figure back here, but I must say, really, really, really enjoying this accessory piece down here. And then while we're on the subject of using this accessory for the Multiverse Batman Beyond figure, the Mezco one came with something very similar himself, a little bit more accurate coloring, But pretty cool to compare them to one another. And then, of course, you guessed it, this Mattel figure can also accommodate the Mezco figures accessories here. And then here are all 4 of the different Batman Beyond figures that came with wing sets. Here's how they look compared to each other. This is probably the nicest one, most articulated, and most basic. Now that we've taken a very in-depth look at his accessories, next let's check out the height of this figure. This is a Mattel Multiverse figure, typically the 1/12 scale, 6 or so inches tall. This guy here looks like he's measuring up to be, say, from the very top of the ears, 6.5 inches, and from the top of the head, probably about 6.25 inches. Next, let's check out this figure's articulation. So, of course, his head here, of course, he can turn around, can go down about that far, up about that far. Can't really tilt from side to side very much. Shoulders, they go out more than 90 degrees, which is pretty nice. Ball joint, of course, they can pretty much do whatever you want them to do. He's got a bicep cut right here. He's got single jointed elbows. They don't quite go 90 degrees, but fairly close. He's got his wrist, of course, he can turn around, and they're removable, and they're hinged as well. He's got an ab crunch. Actually, has like an extensive range of motion there. So with his ab crunch and his head, he's able to look up about that far and look down that far. That's with his feet planted completely straight. Then he's got a waist swivel. His legs then go out just about 90 degrees, not quite. Forward, about that far, kind of go outward as you're pulling them forward, and back, absolutely not at all. He's got a thigh cut here. He's got double jointed knees, kind of unusual for Mattel, although getting more and more common with Multiverse. Then he's got his feet, of course, they can go up and down, back considerably a lot. I personally like putting their feet like this when they're flying, but not if he's going to be having the exhaust coming out. And then they do tilt a little bit. You can kind of see like that. So I can get him into some nice poses and support him standing properly. Next, let's check him out compared to some other Batman Beyond figures. Then we'll check him out compared to some other Mattel, DC Universe Classics, and Multiverse figures. And then we'll check him out compared to some other action figure lines to see how he compares height-wise and just in general. So, first of all, here he is next to the Mattel DC Universe Classics Batman Beyond figure. This one came out probably over 10 years ago. It's been quite a while. This one is sort of sporting the angry face all the time. Pretty similar to the new Batman Beyond's angry face head. And you can see these two guys. This one feels bigger, a little bit more menacing. This one feels a little bit scrawnier, which is appropriate because Terry is typically a teenager. They're heighted almost exactly the same, which I do appreciate. And I've actually accumulated several of these DC Universe Classics Batman Beyond bodies. There was a KB Toys exclusive unmasked version that came with a Terry McGinnis head, and I bought at least 3 different ones of those to make Terry McGinnis in civilian clothing customs. And then speaking of the Terry McGinnis custom, here he is. I will probably end up putting this extra Batman Beyond angry face head that came with a Multiverse figure onto one of these other bodies, as they're just laying around, not being used for anything. Here's how the original DC Universe Classics Batman Beyond Batman would look with the new Multiverse head on top of it. This here is the original body with the angry Multiverse head. This is the Multiverse figure, and this is the original body with the original head. Here he is next to the Mattel Total Heroes Batman Beyond figure. This guy is a little bit more of a basic line, only costs about $9.99 or so. But I must say, I do think they captured the essence of the Batman Beyond figure pretty well with him. His face and his ears look really good. Here he is next to the DC Collectibles Batman Animated Batman Beyond figure. You can see he's definitely a different scale, quite a bit shorter than the Multiverse figure. And then here he is next to the Mezco Batman Beyond figure. This is the most recent 6-7 inch Batman Beyond figure that they've released. And then here are all the different Batman Beyond figures in my collection. I even found an old Kenner one. I remember I bought that one specifically because he came with an old Ace the Bat Hound figure, an absolutely awful one, but came with one nonetheless. I will say my favorite of the bunch, probably to this day, is still probably the DC Universe Classics one. Don't get me wrong, the Mezco one is nicer, but this is an old-time favorite, very good playability, and it's one of the originals, so it still holds a special place in my heart. Here he is next to the DC Collectibles Old Man Bruce Wayne figure, just like he was in the show. This line is a little bit of a smaller scale than the Multiverse, but they do work out pretty well. Bruce Wayne is an older guy, and a lot of times older people shrink. He wasn't quite that small in the show, but it works for my purposes. And then here he is, getting lectured by Old Man Bruce Wayne. And then here he is next to the DC Collectibles Ace the Bat Hound. Even though this line is a slightly smaller scale, the Bat Hound works perfect with this Multiverse figure. It's a great accessory or action figure to enhance this figure. They work absolutely great together. And then just because here are all the different Ace the Bat Hound figures that they have made. This is an old DC Direct Silver Age one. This is the Kenner one with absolutely no articulation, pretty junky figure. And then here's the pretty nice DC Collectibles one. And then here's what I did with my extra DC Universe Classics Terry McGinnis head. Popped onto what I believe is a Starman body, pinning it up. So here's my custom Terry McGinnis with the Batman Beyond from Multiverse, as well as his friend from school, Max. She sort of served as an oracle type of person, doing computer work, and she knew who he was helping him along the way. Here he is next to a few Batman Beyond rogues. These are custom figures. From left to right, we've got Spellbinder, of course the Terry, and then Shriek, and then Kirari. And then here he is next to a few more Batman Beyond rogues. These are some more customs. These are the Joker's gang from Batman Beyond Return of the Joker. I've always been pretty into this gang because they're so unique. They don't just look like Jokers for the most part. We've got the Scarecrow looking guy and this sort of wolf-human hybrid, whatever he is. From left to right, we've got the Dee Dee and Dee Dee twins. We've got a Ghoul. Then there's Terry Batman Beyond in the middle here. Then we've got Bonk, Woof, and Chucko. Here's this Multiverse Batman Beyond figure staying next to the old Kenner Batman Beyond Batmobile. Pretty good looking vehicle, but damn sure don't expect him to fit inside. He actually may end up a little bit disappointed as he tries to climb inside. Here he is compared to a bunch of DC Universe Classics and Multiverse figures. Fits in with them pretty nicely. Here he is next to some McFarlane Toys action figures from different various lines. These guys are of the 7-inch scale and definitely a little bit taller than the Multiverse figures. Here he is compared with some Diamond Select action figures from 4 different Diamond Select lines. Once again, these are a 7-inch scale and definitely tower over the Multiverse figures. Here he is compared to some various NECA action figures. These are also 7-inch scale, a little bit shorter than Diamond and McFarlane, but don't quite scale up right with the Multiverse figures. Here he is next to some DC Collectibles figures. These are also of the 7-inch scale and a little bit taller than the Multiverse figures, but I'd say this Batman Beyond figure is fudgeable as Terry McGinnis is a teenager and a little bit smaller than them. Here he is next to some Mattel wrestling figures. These guys are just a tiny bit taller than him, but I think they can be fudged in to use as thugs against him. Here he is as he would compare up with some Mezco figures. These guys are pretty much the same height and scale up very nicely with him, just definitely a totally different style. Here he is compared with some Mafex figures. These guys are scaled up pretty nicely with this guy, the Multiverse line. They are a little bit of a nicer style though. Here he is compared with some Hasbro Marvel Legends figures. These guys scale up pretty nicely with Multiverse, maybe just a hair smaller. And then here he has next to some figure arts figures. These guys scale up okay with the Multiverse, definitely a little bit smaller. So all in all, I must say this is a very solid figure. If I were to give him a rating, it'd probably be 7 out of 10. I think I do prefer the DC Universe Classics Batman Beyond figure to this one, as far as which one I personally like better, but this is a better portrayal of Terry McGinnis. Terry McGinnis is a teenager. This figure is a little bit smaller, a little bit scrawnier, and I think it suits the character a little better. This will fit in with your DC Universe Classics or DC Multiverse collection, absolutely no problem. And honestly, he looks pretty sharp and pretty good. If you like this video, press like below. If you want to see additional videos from me, press subscribe. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add to the comments below. This is D Hunter. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.